Okay, thanks everybody for joining us today. Today we have a special guest, Dylan. So it was like 3 years ago, like sometime this time of the year. It was winter, it was raining, and I got a message from some unknown person on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, I'm Dylan from Atlanta, and I have moved with my husband to Auckland, and I have been in visual effects." And I said, "Okay, come and we have a chat." And she came totally soaked, so she was she was like wet from the head to the toe, and then like I met this like you know compared to we Kiwis that are so relaxed, so you suddenly see someone with like that energy that you can expect from an American life, and so like so talking fast and having ideas and want to do stuff, and so it was lovely. And when she left, I just I thought that was a nice person, so I did a bit of googling about her, and I saw that Dylan is 2 times Emmy Award nominee. So that's an award that all the visual effects artists are dreaming to get. Well, even being a nominee for that, it's something great. So then I talked to Greg, said, "Oh, I met this lovely woman, and she seems a very good asset if we invite her to be in our team." So we've been lucky for a few years. Dylan has been teaching a couple of courses in our school. She is teaching at UB at the moment. So the Dylan face that you might have seen as a lecturer for you has the other face too. She's been in industry for a long time, and she has worked on many world-class projects. So this is the story we're going to listen to today. It's the story of a visual effects artist that has been working on multiple big projects. So please feel free to ask any question as you might have. And I hand it to you, Dylan.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. That was actually a good memory when I actually got in. I didn't know that it rains so bad here in Oakland. And I'm like, it's not going to rain that bad. And I just started walking and just ended up getting all soaked that day. So that was actually quite interesting to remember. But thank you so much for the introduction. I'm going to actually share my screen because I prepared kind of like a quick presentation so you guys can actually have a little idea. Since we're so visual, I thought that sharing some images and some photos will actually get a little bit more information about what I'm actually trying to get through. So let me actually just share my screen really quick. So hopefully you guys can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, awesome. So today I'm going to be talking about my story, how I got into the VFX. Some of you might probably already remember from the classes that I actually did on AUT. And I'm just going to give a little bit of like behind the scenes of how I came to be on this industry too as well. So first, a quick look, kind of like a quick summary of what I'm going to be covering with this. First, I'm actually born in San Diego, California. So that's in the United States. But I was actually not grown up there. I grew up in this small town on the border between Mexico and the US called Nogales. So a really small town. So this was my inspiration. Some of you know, first inspiration was Toy Story. I truly love Toy Story. When I saw it, I spent probably like a full week watching it and just seeing it. And then I see Starship Troopers 2 years later, and I fall in love with the visual effects. So that's actually why I'm actually into the industry. And of course, this is some of the examples of what I have been work on TV shows mainly on the US. So this is just a quick sample. You guys can visit my IMDb and see all the full credits. But how do I got from that? And also, as Hussein mentioned, I have been twice nominated for the Emmys. For those that are not aware, Emmys is kind of like the Oscars, but for TV shows, and kind of like Grammys for music. So Emmys is a big thing when you actually get a nomination. And this is talking for me just being 2 years in the industry. So that was actually like quite surprising too as well. So young, I was like 24 years old when this happened, and it was kind of like an honor too as well. Surprisingly, some people spend 10, 15 years in the industry and have never been nominated. So being on this, it was just crazy. So about me, so our story begins here. Like every story begins somewhere, right? So this is me when I was 16 years old. So I was in college in Mexico. I was studying to be a computer technician. So I was studying programming, and on the side, I was doing these activities of doing puppetry. So I actually was working on doing kind of like a small, kind of like a puppetry show for kids to actually educate them about the ecological impact of throwing trash. So this is me and some of the teammates I was working with them, and how this girl, I was already dreaming about becoming a VFX artist and animator at this time. And how do I get from this point on 2004 to 2014 that it was actually when I got the invitation for getting into the Emmys. So a lot of people think this was like this, straight point A to B. But in reality, my trajectory looked more like this. It was a mess. It was a mess. Sometimes I had to actually step back. Sometimes I had to step forward. Sometimes I jump. Sometimes I have my lows too as well. So it was not a straight line, especially for me coming from a family that was not able to support my whole studies and also not knowing English at that point. So it was quite interesting. So I studied really hard when I was in the school. I was always like a really A++ student or A+++ student, whatever you want to call it. My grades were always like really nice and higher, and I was really hard worker on that aspect. And I started learning Photoshop by myself too as well. So I started doing some of my first works on Photoshop. I started taking pictures of my friends and just kind of like converting it into things, whatever I actually can find.
You were into zombies from the beginning.
I started actually getting into that too as well. My friends also facilitated so well.
Yes.
So, and my friends start getting inspired too, and they start doing Photoshop as well. So that was actually really fun seeing my friends be inspired by what I was doing too. Kind of like either to take revenge or to just having fun, whatever was the case. So it was actually really fun. And one of the things is when I was actually in the school, I was working with the University of Arizona, some of the students that were doing some education for biology, and we were actually doing together the puppetry show. I was also working, I was actually involved heavily into an acting group. I did 3 years of acting when I was in the school. So I did also host a radio show for students every week on the local radio station. And I was working really hard to not do a thesis for my graduation because, of course, when you're doing a career, you can get a diploma in Mexico at least. But you're required to do a thesis unless that you have like a really good grades. That's the only way that you don't need to do a thesis. So I was actually trying to do that in order to not do the thesis. And of course, this becomes to be a little bit too much in some point. And this was my first encounter with stress. So some of you might probably already have been in this situation where you actually have a lot of stuff and you start stressing yourself out. And this was not good for me. So this was actually a really bad encounter for me as a stress because I ended up going to the hospital and I got diagnosed with Guillain-Barre syndrome. So this is actually kind of like a syndrome that your own immune system start attacking you instead of defending you from things that come to your body and make you sick, they start actually thinking that your own body is trying to harm you. So the fact here is that I was not able to walk for 2 weeks. So it was quite scary times. So yeah, it was quite scary. I was like, oh my gosh, am I gonna walk ever again? Oop, it just went behind. So definitely stress, guys. And the reason that I bring this story is I usually don't share too much this story because it's kind of like it's just in the past, but it's good to actually address that when you actually stress, it's not good. Things can get wrong. Things can get actually really, really wrong. You can actually hurt yourself and your health, and that's actually not good because if we don't have health, we don't have nothing. You can actually sit on the computer and do what you love. You can actually socialize. You cannot visit your friends or family, and of course, it's more worry, you know. So this was the 2 weeks, and it was like another month to recover on that. So, but thankfully, everything went well, and I graduated from college as a computer technician. And then the next question that every graduate person has in mind is where to go next. What the hell I'm gonna do? I had this studies, what I can do with this. So on that point, I was actually kind of like, okay, I really want to do VFX. I'm still actually in love with animation, but I don't know how to start it. I was seeing kind of like a little bit far away because of the economical situation that I was in. So I said, okay, let me actually study for, let me work, save some money, and then I'm going to start studying. So that's what I did. I worked for 4 years in a duty-free store as a sales representative. And then the 2008 US financial crisis came in. Of course, right now it's kind of like familiar. We are in a crisis too as well.
We're getting into it again.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like a cycle. So this is quite interesting, guys, because each as an adult, you don't realize, as well as a kid, you don't realize this kind of stuff happens, but it happens pretty much every 10 years around that time. And I was working on the store. I have just 2 years working on the store with this hits. And I start seeing a lot of people losing their jobs, losing their houses, because in the US, a lot of people ended up losing their houses. It was terrible. And the crisis didn't ended up hitting us or the store that I was working on until 2011, until 2010. So let's actually go into that little point of view of the story. At that point, it was all or nothing. So in 2010, as I mentioned, the whole economy ended up hitting really hard on the US, especially for small business and medium-sized business, especially where I was working. So all the money that I get for commissions, for selling products, and that I was actually saving for my studies, all that got cut up because, of course, as a business, companies need to make hard decisions, and commissions and salaries and benefits, everything got cut up. And at this point, I'm like, what am I going to do? I cannot pay my studies, and I cannot actually continue working at this point. So I decide to take a loan and say, this is it. This is everything. I'm going to put everything on my studies, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to actually move forward from this point. So I ended up finding a school that it was just 1 year of working on just studying, and I'm like, okay, let me actually take that year because that's the only thing that I have at this point. It was quite desperate, and I ended up moving from my small town for the first time. I barely have traveled at this point. I was 22 years old, 21 years old actually. I just have turned 21 years old and moved to the unknown area of Orlando, Florida. I don't have family there. It was quite far away from my hometown. And this is me packing everything in the car and moving on and put everything into the line, right? So I ended up moving to Orlando. It was a cool thing to actually get accepted to the school too as well, because my loan was getting rejected a couple of times. So, but after 12 times of applying, I was able to get the loan. So I ended up going here and I started my studies in January of 2010, January of 2011. And I started modeling, I studied animation, VFX, and we did a team project at the end. So that was it in a full year. So that's what we ended up doing. Here's me working. And here is me several times after not sleeping so many nights because I was actually trying to do my best and working really hard. And this is one of the things that when you are a student, I was not good. My drawing skills are not exactly good, and they were worse at that time. I didn't know English well, so I have to actually work extra hard too as well because, of course, the barrier of understanding my teachers and trying to get the lecture. So it was actually quite an extra step. And yeah, and sometimes I have been actually was doing 3 days in a row, not sleeping, trying to get work done, trying to practice. Of course, it's not healthy. I know now. You should actually get some sleep in order to be productive. But I didn't know it back then. I was really passionate. I really want to do this. And of course, I'm talking that this was everything on the line. So I was actually trying to get myself into the whole immersion of the school. Here's my first character animation. I like to share the screen images because everyone thinks that as we professionals, we didn't have our mistakes. Everything was perfect on the first try, on the first round. Everything it looks so beautiful and nice, and you never have to deal with broken rigs or footage that got messed up with the color correction or the exposure of the camera. So everyone thinks that those little mistakes never happens. But in reality, this is actually the situation that we go through when we are learning. And as you can see, I have the arm inside of her torso and then inside of her face. And I was going crazy at this point. I just did a crazy face just for fun because I was getting so stressed. So this is actually the situation, guys, when you actually being a student. We all have been there. Even the people that you admire that's already on the industry. Even if you actually talked about big names of directors like James Cameron, Peter Jackson, everyone has had their mistakes at some point. And this is actually good to understand that it's nothing good at the first time. You will fail, and it's okay to fail. It's okay to have these mistakes because you learn. You learn that now you don't need to adjust the rig on this direction because you break the rig. So now you don't do it. So that was actually for that. Oop. So, and my mouse is going crazy. Sorry. So one of the things I want to actually give to the students, the ones that are joining us, especially from the first year and second year, this is an advice that I actually did, and I take really to heart when I was in school. Someone told me you should volunteer to actually get experience. And I'm like, well, why should I be volunteering? And one of the things I start doing is I start volunteering to to the other people that were actually in front of us. Like 3 months earlier, they actually did some project shootings for some student projects that they have. So I actually volunteered to just be there. Do you need a box? Do you need a light? Where do you need me to put this? Where do you need extras? Do you need makeup? So in this picture, I'm actually doing makeup. So I ended up becoming kind of like the resident makeup artist for student projects when I actually did all this stuff. And I started learning. I started doing more things. I started learning to manage some equipment. People were actually really nice to actually teach me. So that was actually amazing. And if you see here is the green screen, we are doing some shooting on the school. So I did probably more than 10 student shootings during the 1 year in 2011. I also have the opportunity, because I did the student shootings, to meet Lee Stringer. Lee Stringer have been well known to be a VFX supervisor, a CG supervisor for Firefly, Angel in Battlestar Galactica, and he was being a guest on the school one of the times, and he asked for people to volunteer for a project. I helped with that project, and then he invites several of us to actually join him to go into Virginia in the US to actually shoot one of his personal projects too as well. So here's me again as a makeup artist. So, and it was actually pretty good. I actually become kind of like friends with Lee Stringer. We still actually have contact. So, and a lot of the people that's in this picture still actually contacts of myself. So it was actually amazing. I met another guy too as well. So I also work in the 45 film for 2011. So that was also because of the same thing. I volunteered too as well. And one of the guys from the shooting from the With You asked me if I can actually be a BFX supervisor for his student short film. And at this point, I have to say, this was in August. I barely have started to do VFX. I didn't know how to do compositing. So, and I accept a VFX supervising position. That was one crazy thing. We were 6 days shooting inside and outside, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I have a lot of support from my teachers. I was asking, and they were really supportive. So sometimes you need to actually take the leap with stuff that is unknown, even though you feel a little bit uncomfortable. If you're passionate about this, you will find a way to do it. That's actually what I would suggest, to volunteer and do things that are quite a little bit uncomfortable. So then that changed really quick. So this is actually us on December 2011, we graduate. And that was crazy. Again, same question, what to do next? So of course, as a graduate, you are like, oh, what I'm gonna be doing. So I ended up doing some teaching assistant after this, just as a support artist for the class that was before me. And I helped them out with the project here and there. And then after that, I was actually able to get the interview, but I'm gonna get into that in a minute. So one of the things I will suggest you guys as a students, first and second year especially, volunteer. And to everyone, just have fun. This is my whole classmates. We're just having fun. We're doing our work. And at the same time, we're just having fun because we enjoy doing this. So everyone here on your class is actually passionate about what they're doing. And you're going to be making friends for pretty much life. Some of these friends, they might probably ended up in good companies, and they might probably actually be able to help you out, give you a hand to actually step forward into your career. So have fun. Don't take things serious, but enjoy it too as well. And also another thing that I have learned from this experience as a student is that teachers are willing to help you guys. Seriously, it's like they're probably the best assets that you can have while you're a student. And this is actually two of my, he is my VFX teacher. I'm still actually in contact with him. He's amazing. He actually teach me a lot of stuff. John Gress is his name. And he was an amazing teacher. And this is William Bong. He used to be evangelist for Lightwave, and now he's an evangelist for Moto. And he was not directly my teacher, but he teach me so much stuff when he actually gave me so many feedback and pushed me to be better. He was quite strict with his feedback, and it was quite harsh sometimes, but he was amazing that he was actually giving me the stuff as it was. And this is Mikey. He is actually the director of careers of the school. And this is actually the day that they were doing my farewell because I got the job for The Walking Dead. So that was amazing. The teachers helped me out. I have other teachers too as well. They helped me out. I didn't find any pictures, but they were actually helping out. And I think your best resources at this point is your teachers. And that's how you can actually start also learning much faster. So, yeah, so have fun again. So after this, of course, I graduate and I'm like, now what, right? So now is the big jump. You are ready to get into the industry. You're shaking as a chicken or as a person that has too much cold because you're nervous. It's normal. I got the interview because I was actually doing a lot of networking. I was actually talking with people, and I have a lot of support too as well down the line. So I got the interview with Stargate Studios, and I started working with them around May 2012. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I worked with them for close to 6 years. So, and this is where it allowed me to actually expand a little bit more into what the industry is, what is the experience I could get. We actually were the first people that got into the company because the company in Atlanta, the company was already established, but they were just opening the first office in Atlanta. And this is us. This is the first people that we actually started working there. So this is my three co-workers that we were the only ones on the on the studio the first time, and this is my supervisor here. So that was amazing experience, and really supported too. My other two co-workers, they already have experience on the industry. I was the only one junior, and they were really supportive. People in the industry, if they see that you actually want to do things, they will support you. They know that you're nervous. They know that you actually don't want to mess it up. So people is going to be really supportive to you, and they were actually going to be giving you a hand to just be better and get yourself up and running. So I have a lot of incredible support, and it became kind of like a small family there. Your co-workers at some point, they're going to actually be that. It's going to be your second family, because you guys are going to go through so many things that sometimes you cannot talk up outside of the industry, outside of the office, because it's under NDA. So that's the best way to actually just talk to them, because they know the pain that you're actually going through, and they actually really support it, and we all in the same boat. So you become friends of them, and it's actually just amazing, the supporting. I also have the opportunity to work on Mexico City. On 2016, the company ended up doing an expansion to open an office there, and they sent me up to help to train the artists there. And so this is a team from Mexico City. I was supposed to be 2 weeks on Mexico City, and I ended up staying for close to 4 months. So, but that was actually amazing, because you also see the other side of the industry. You also see the administration stuff. You also see how much work and how much things other people are doing besides the artists, all the administration and the producers and the supervisors, and you have the opportunity to know all those aspects behind the scenes. So that was actually amazing too as well. So for the people that is right now on third year, and I think I have give you guys, because we were actually you guys are kind of like the class I spend the most time. I just gonna actually just push again the fact of networking. And I think people that is right now still first and second year, when the guys on third year came into the class the first time, before the first semester, and I tell them, you guys are the best way to start doing networking, because you still have 2 years to actually work it out. For the guys that follow the advice, and right now they're in third year, a lot of them, they already have the confidence to go out into these networking events and talk to people. I have seen you guys on networking events, and you guys are feeling more comfortable on going out and just putting yourself out. So that's actually amazing. I will say, you never start networking. Even though if you have a job that's stable, you keep networking with people. Even inside of your own company, you keep networking. Now, the other thing that I will say for everyone is, not matter if you actually finish your studies, you will always need to be upskilling. You always need to actually be up to date, because this industry is changing so much. It's actually just exploding in so many areas that you will always need to actually be on top of the new softwares, on top of the new techniques. Some people think that because they finish the school, they will never go back to study. And in reality, that's not that true. In reality, pretty much even ourselves as a teachers, we keep studying. We keep actually checking what is the new stuff, all the stuff. Maybe you guys already have seen all the stuff from Unreal 5. That's actually like just looking so amazing. We're like so excited too, as well as you guys. So some of us will actually go and study that too as well. Like say, okay, what else we can actually take advantage of this program, this new technique, this new software that is coming up, and how it's going to be affecting the industry. So the harder that you work, the better you get. As I mentioned before, when I was on the school, I was so bad. I have never touched a 3D program. I have never done animation. I have never done anything. And it was quite incredible. When you get there, you find the challenge and you take it up and you actually work really hard. And you will fail. It's no doubt that you will actually fail. But the times that you fail, you actually start growing with the knowledge. You start getting more comfortable on saying, okay, now I should not step into this direction because I know what happens. So it's actually quite interesting on gaining that. And definitely work hard, but also take your time because you need to balance it. one of the problems I have on the beginning, and I think it actually came and bite me on my personal life mainly, it was that I didn't balance well work with personal. So definitely take time to actually balance. When it's work, it's work. When it's hobby, it's hobby. When it's your passion, it's your passion. When it's your family and friends, it's your family and friends time. We as an artist, we get too much into the stuff that we do that sometimes we lose track of time. I cannot tell you how many times have been that I have started working on something, I get so entertained, so focused, and suddenly I see that it was 9 in the morning and now it's 3 in the morning the next day. So the time fly when you're doing something that you enjoy. And I would say probably that try to just balance your stuff as it goes, as it actually comes to your life. So that will actually help you also to do have some health. So do some exercise. Being sitting on the computer, I think I mentioned to this to the third years, but being sitting on the computer is not good all day, every day. You start actually experiencing some pain on the back and all the stuff, and you don't want, your guys are too young to actually be doing that. So make sure that you also exercise, you take some time to travel, you take some time to spend with your family, to do some outdoor stuff. You guys have amazing country here, New Zealand, that has so many things to do outside. Take one weekend when it's a weekend off, long weekend, take it off. So that's actually good for you and your mind too as well. So I think that will be pretty much it for my part. I'm just actually gonna return it to.
Lovely. Thank you so much. We can clap you virtually. So I have my first question is, what is your secret that you look 16 in all your photos?
Thank you, Hussein. Thank you. I wish I could say that.
Turn your camera on, Dylan.
Oh, it's actually off. Oh, yes. There you go. There you go. Thank you.
So, what was the most challenging project you worked on?
Oof. I think I have several ones. But I think probably the most challenging one, it was, and I think I keep actually talking, not too much of a project. It was more like shots.
Okay. So which shot from which project?
So I have one shot that I have worked for The Walking Dead, where everything is in darkness and it's a flashlight on the face of the guy. And the guy has some hair. You have some noise too as well, because The Walking Dead, for those that don't know, is not actually shot on digital cameras. It's actually shot on traditional film cameras. So you have you have actually natural noise occurring from
noise. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and usually it's really heavy, especially if you actually do it on really dark environments, it gets really heavy. So, and then you have the actress putting this flashlight on top of the zombie, and the zombie has some hair, and then you have motion blur. So with that, with that things that I'm actually saying, what we actually need to do on the shot is put some glass around the face of the zombie as she's stabbing it with a glass bottle. So that was actually quite challenging because the tracking was everywhere. It was actually quite challenging because for more than you do, the glass is reflected, and when it goes into darkness, you will not see it.
Yes.
But you will see some kind of like silhouette that something was there. So it was quite challenging to get the glass looking right on those conditions. It was not just for me as a compositor. I was doing the compositing for that, but it was also for the 3D artist. The 3D artist was actually having a challenge there.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a way to, this was a solution that we have as a teamwork. Teamwork is just incredibly important when you're dealing with situations like this, where you have a shot that's quite challenged or you have a project that's quite challenged. Because your team is going to come up with different ideas. And sometimes I did have another shot where we have to do roto from a girl that has kind of like she's blonde, she has an afro, is on the sunlight, and we're supposed to be actually doing crowds on the background because there's a stadium, and it was no green screen.
Oh, geez.
So we had to kind of roll up the
The
hair.
hair.
Yeah, from this big Afro blonde girl.
Oh.
So that was actually challenging, and I got that shot, and that shot got pulled away from me. And it will happen you will actually get into these situations on the industry that no matter how hard you try to do a shot, it's not going to work. And don't take it personal if they actually come in, or if you actually say to yourself, you know what, I cannot deal with this shot. Shot is way too much. And that's actually perfectly fine. That shot had been already after I was the sixth person touching the shot on that time, and I think it was 3 more people that touched that shot after me. So
I
it
had
was
shots,
not us.
I had shots pulled out too, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel so useless, but that's not you, you know. It's the industry, it's the project that is going. So if I share the screen, my screen, so I can. So this is your IMDb, Dylan.
Yes.
And you have worked on all these projects.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
I think it's more than 40.
Oh, Jesus.
Plus the ones that didn't get published.
So which one are you most proud of?
I think probably mainly because I have worked a lot on that is probably The Walking Dead. I feel proud, and I feel so many other emotions too as well in conjunction to that. But definitely I'm really proud because it definitely helped me out to grow. We have so many technical challenges. We have so many other kind of challenges too as well going into it. And the fact that it kind of make me appreciate more and more my teammates. It kind of helped me out to actually realize how important work as a team was when I was in the industry. When I graduated, I was still actually a little bit kind of like sensitive to feedback, if I can actually say that. So I have learned, and I have been actually, I learned during that project that feedback is not against you too as well. It's actually to get you better, or to actually to the purpose of the project.
Did you cry for the first time?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the very first time I got.
We all do, like, you know.
Actually, that animation screen captures that I show you guys, that was my first animation, and I went and showed it to the director of careers, and he gave me his feedback, and I said, yes, thank you. And I got out from his office, and I went directly to a restroom and just start crying. So one of my friends find me on the stairs, and he's like, are you okay? Because he see me with my eyes red, and I'm like, Mike was so mean. I work on this for 4 days, and he just tear it apart. So
yeah, it takes a while. So and we realize it's not. It's about work. It's not about us. So that was my next question. So how do you? So what? As we know, the team working is the nexus, is the core of our industry. So whoever steps out of the school, there's nowhere that they work on their own, even virtually nowadays. So you are connected all around, and you are constantly in touch with people like now. Yeah. So how do you describe team working, and how a new graduatee, or someone who graduates recently, can function as a good team player?
I think when we did have some, I got some echo. I think when I got actually some people that it got into when we actually hire people on the office, the first thing that we actually look is how much you actually ask. For example, we get you a shot, and you ask, okay, when is the deadline? So you asking, we don't have to actually tell you. So you're asking for, when is the deadline? What is the client looking? Can I have more specifications about this shot? Because that shows, it's not that it's showing that, oh, this person is so annoying. No, it's not showing that. It's showing that you want to do the work as better as possible. So you want to gather as more information. The other thing is feedback. The way that you take feedback, that you don't react negative to it. That if I come and say, hey, I think that's actually not looking right. The background should be more darker or more lighter or whatever is the situation. And I say, oh, okay, you know what? Okay, you start actually analyzing what the person is saying at the same time. And you can probably actually start being proactive on giving suggestions. What about if I do it a little bit more into this side or whatever? You start giving your own feedback to as well, so that way you actually show collaboration on the ideas, on building the idea or like the solution to the problem, instead of reacting like, oh, that background doesn't look right. It's like, I know, I'm being actually working on this, and kind of like that's just pushing people away from you, because you aren't actually willing to get a critique, a productive critique, and that hurts the project. It doesn't just hurt you. It doesn't just hurt your teammates. It doesn't hurt the company. It hurts the project in general. So definitely don't take it too hard.
Yeah.
So,
And also sharing.
yeah.
Yeah. So like
Sharing
what you know, and be generous about. So like some people like think if they have achieved something, they have to hold on it. You know, that's my thing. You know.
Yeah, and I think as a team player, we can add to that too as well. That, for example, if you have a deadline, let's say they give you a shot and they tell you like the deadline is in 4 days, right? So you do some work today and then you finish and you share that work. You share that work in progress, and you can. It's okay to say, hey, this is work in progress, but I just want to make sure that everything is looking fine. So that way you can catch if something is not going in the right direction. And you can actually not even share it with your supervisor yet. If you actually feel that it's not exactly to the level of showing to the supervisor, you can turn around and just, hey, can you actually come here to my desk and give me a second set of eyes? So, because a lot of you have been probably staring to your computer and you know something is wrong, but you don't know what it is.
Yes. True. True. You need a second eye to come over and have a out of the box. Actually, this is what I have insisted, especially for the third year students so far. And I know that some students are, even though their projects are mostly individual projects, but they are just working together, giving to get each other feedback, because the feedback from the lecturer is one thing, and the feedback from your friend is another fresh eye on your project, which is very helpful. Okay, guys, so we have about 15 minutes for any Q&A. Please ask any questions. You can type here, or you can turn on your microphone and your camera and ask Dylan.
I do have one question. So
sure, Johnson, go ahead.
Let's say you're doing a certain task for a certain amount of time, and then later you had a feeling saying you just don't want to, you just don't want to do them, man, due to either stress or any sort of mental illness, or just you're about to burn out. So what other ways can you overcome it?
So it's like how to overcome burnout after a couple hours of working on the same project. Yeah. Okay. So burnout is a really it's an interesting thing, because even though that I tried to balance after what happened to me when I was younger, I ended up being burnout twice when I was working on the industry. And burnout, for those that are not familiar with burnout is when you pretty much stress to some degree that you don't want to do nothing anymore. It's becoming really frustrated. It's becoming kind of like, this is just worthless. So you start getting into that attitude. So for the burnout, one of the things that I can say is the first very thing, and it might probably sounds really simple, but it's just get out of your desk and walk away. Of course, you want to actually just say, if you're actually working in a team, say, okay, I'm just going to take a 5-minute break. So no one take it like, oh my God, he's been mad. Because we all understand that you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be burning out to some degree. So you just actually say, I'm just going to take a break, 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever time you think that you actually need to actually just go out, walk, take some fresh air, go and walk, get some lunch, try to get away from the computer. Because as you're going to start detecting your burnout, you're actually trying to solve a problem and you're like, I know this is so simple. I know I can actually fix it. But as much as you stress that question into your mind, the burnout is going to start growing up more. So better just walk away. If it's the end of the day, just say, hey guys, I'm just going to leave for today. I'm going to come back tomorrow. And maybe sometimes it has happened to me that when I go to sleep, I dream with a solution. So at the next day you come in, you come refreshed, you come already like a little bit disconnected from the problem, and then you see the work with different eyes. So the other thing that you can do if you're still actually feeling burnout and you're feeling like you're getting frustrated with the project is ask your coworkers or classmates in this case. Say, hey, I'm already kind of like to the point of burnout. Can you give me some suggestions of this? Because I have no idea what else to do. So, and then you can actually take that feedback again. Take it. Feedback is always 50-50. It is your responsible as an artist knowing how much feedback you're going to be implemented into your work. Some feedback might be probably good intended, but it's not actually good for the project. It has happened before too as well, especially when you're in the industry. But just take it with a kind of like balance it. How much is the feedback that you're going to be applying? And maybe you will actually find a solution too as well for what you're looking. So, yep, if that helps.
That helps. Thanks.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, Johnson. Any other question? Okay, so everybody is so quiet. It's okay. It's all right. So thank you so much. There's a question here.
I've been doing good. Getting there. Miss you guys definitely. So, but yeah, definitely. I've been doing good. Thank you for asking though.
So Joseph asks, some of my friends in the class are thinking of planning to make a group project after we graduate this year. Would that count as a professional experience?
I think it doesn't. Okay, it's kind of like a gray area there, because depending if you're doing that with some company in behind you, that will be probably counting as a professional experience. Probably like you do that as a freelancer and you guys collaborate, and that's professional experience. Because what I think is mainly is that you have someone backing up you from the industry, or someone that is already a professional, in order to become as a professional experience. But you still can put it on your demo reel as an experience. Because I remember for those ones that are especially in third years, and for those ones that are actually, obviously you guys gonna get in some point to third year too as well. Demo reels are really important, or show reels, how they call it here in New Zealand. Demo reels are the way that you're actually showing your hard skills. That's actually how you manage to do a work, how to actually portray your work as an artist. And anything that you can put there, especially if it's actually a teamwork, that's actually amazing. Because you're using your own work, your own time to create something that is going to help you guys. Now, as I mentioned before, volunteering, that will be actually counting as a volunteering. If you come to my company and say, okay, I have, this is my demo reel, and you show me some work here and there, and you actually say, yeah, I volunteer to help some of my classmates to create some projects. You can check the links here. I will be actually intrigued to see how much extra work you have done with your own time, with your free time, because that's actually telling me that you're so passionate to this and you're so dedicated to this career that you don't care about putting extra hours of your time, of your free time, waking up earlier to go and work in a production, that you're not even being paid for it. So I think it's actually really important that you guys still get that drive to do extra stuff. It will not count as a professional because it's not backed up by a professional company or person. But if you have been working for a professional, like I did with Lee Stringer, that's actually being backed up as a professional experience, even though it's actually volunteering.
True, very good point. Don't go it about. I have the same suggestion. Don't go on your own. Pitch it to someone that might be interested. If you see that nobody's gonna support your project, it means that it means that you need to work more on it. If it means that you have to just like kind of develop it in a way that it looks nice. So even on a non-paid results, they would be interested to invest on it. So Santi asks, do you have the file of your first animation? Can you play it?
I do have the file of my first animation. I do not have the program because it was made on Lightwave, and I don't think Lightwave is actually anymore anywhere.
Yeah, true. Okay, so we have four more minutes left. One last question, if anyone has.
It's one there that says, what could be possible places for networking to start off? Maybe while you are in year one. So some of the good places, of course, right now with the situation that's going on with the COVID-19, a lot of stuff kind of like shut down for the networking. But it's a lot of places, it's some groups, even if you actually, one of the things I did when I arrived to New Zealand, I went and networked on gaming networking events. So pretty much people that's actually doing indie games, I ended up just going and network. Hey guys, I'm here. I'm a 3D artist. I do 3D general stuff. And I start actually talking to people there. You never know, even though it's actually an event that has certain relationship to what you want to do, maybe a person there will say, oh, you know what, I have a friend that is just starting their film project and they need a VFX artist. Or I know about this company that is actually being hiring and here's the context. So you never know who actually you can actually find there. The other thing is several groups running. I hope that as we actually start getting into probably level 1, or we start getting a little more clear, you can find several groups running every month where they actually just go hang out and just have a drink and just talk. It's even really casual. Some of the third years already have been on the group that I run, actually one of the groups. It's called VFX and Animation Oakland. And you guys can actually join on Facebook. We do events every month. Of course, with this, we just stop. But yeah, that's actually a good place to go. If you actually go to events like, for example, I think ChromaCon is going to be next year, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ChromaCon is also a good place to go and network, just to actually talk to people casually. You don't need necessarily. One of the things that you don't want to actually look is desperate, that you actually want to find a job. Like being really pushy. You want to be actually really natural. You want to actually be, when I say natural, just be yourself. Talk to people like, hey, that's actually pretty cool how you do it. So show generally interest, because it's much easier to connect to people that way. I have tried to just connect with people just for, oh, I'm looking for a job, than actually trying to connect generally. And usually the genuine connections are the best ones, because you become friends with them too as well. So definitely I would suggest just keep on Facebook. A lot of the groups are posting up there, hopefully online. Sometimes you will find, LinkedIn is amazing.
I suggest a professional social network like LinkedIn instead of Facebook. I see some students are active on LinkedIn. I can see works from Carmen, Alice, and others that they keep like informing their connections about their progress. You don't share your cat video or the food that you had last night on LinkedIn. You talk about your professional skills. So that could, well, in a virtual world, that could replace like an event somehow.
Yeah, and as Hussein mentioned, Hussein and I, we met through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I was the one messaging to Hussein and say, hey, I'm here. Generally, I was looking for people that's in the industry here on Oakland to make friends, because I just arrived. And being in Atlanta, you have a lot of friends. You have a lot of people that you can actually go hang out, have a tea, have a coffee, have a beer, and talk about the latest film, you know? Talk about different things. And obviously coming into a new country, you're like, okay, who is actually interested in movies?
Okay.
So you actually start looking for people that is related to the profession. And definitely LinkedIn, I have been, and probably the students that I actually have to as well, they have heard me talking about LinkedIn a lot, because LinkedIn is what it got me my first job in the industry and got me working here in New Zealand, and had got me connections to meet people from WebUp, to meet people from Framestorm, to Animal Logic, to so many other places too as well. RSVP, people that's actually in SIGGRAPH, people that's in the Visual Effects Society. So, and I still talk with them through there. So definitely utilize that the thing. And one of the things, if you actually have us, either Hussein or myself or any other your tutors on LinkedIn, and you post work, we will like your work. And once that we actually like your work, you get repost that into our profile and say, oh, Dylan Velasquez like Carmen's work. And you will actually get exposure to all the contacts that we do have. And some of them might probably think, oh, that's actually a really nice student work, right? And that's how they actually, like, they contact me and say, hey, I see that you actually like some person's work. Do you have the contact information? I am actually looking for a project, and it looks like they have the same aesthetic or whatever, you know, and we actually connect you to them. So yeah.
True. And make sure that you post the best of your work. You know, if you get somewhere that you think, oh, that looks nice, post it. If it's like a very early version draft, you better like wait a bit more, and then you work on it like slightly more, make it like polished, and then post it. Okay, thank you so much, Dylan. So we are very pleased to have you for today, and it was lovely. Thank you so much. It was a lot of like amazing stories for us, and it was, I hope that it was helpful for everybody. Okay, thanks everybody, and we are looking to see you again for the next week industry guest talk. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to AUT to just invite me to actually talk a little bit more.
Looking forward to see you soon. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye, guys.